All right, so we're going to talk about tempo matching in the most basic form here in Pro Tools. And so I have brought some files in here, and I've adjusted my tempo here to 80 beats per minute. So Command-Shift-I is the import, and I was looking in this motion folder, which you guys should have as well, and there's a bunch of loops here that are clocked and are created at 80 beats per minute. So I imported some drums and bass, and then I went over here, went to the beginning of my session. We go return, boom, goes to the beginning of the session, right? And we'll set that clip gain there. So it goes to the beginning of the session, and then you program in this tempo. So maybe you don't have the tempo. So we got to talk a little bit about time and beat per minute and tempo here in Pro Tools. So here are the rulers. There's a couple types of rulers. This little drop-down menu will make them visible and active. So let's say I don't want time code, and I don't want minutes and seconds, and I don't want markers or tempo. So you have a way to measure time in Pro Tools. These are time-based rulers, and let's look now. I don't really have anything up there except bars and beats. So I usually like bars and beats, minutes and seconds, and then I'll bring in markers and tempo, and that's a good starting point of what's there. So go back to the beginning again, hit enter, and I programmed in 80 beats per minute, as you can see right here. Zoom in on that. So I programmed in 80 beats per minute. So my grid then I put the session in grid mode, and then my time value is bars and beats, and it's 80 beats per minute. And then these files here, I can hide and show the grid by clicking on bars and beats, just so you know. And then now these samples fit perfectly in this grid time at 80 beats per minute. So I've chosen 80 beats per minute, and I can drag these around as a quick way to make an arrangement. So I had to give you a little bit of background there about beats per minute, how to set the tempo, and go back to the beginning, and you can just click this little plus right here. It's super precise. A lot of Pro Tools things are very, very precise. Click on this little plus here, and it brings up this tempo change. So I could change it to something else, but I'm just going to leave it. But that's how I programmed it at 80 beats per minute. Before it was 120. So I had to program that in there. I click OK, and then it made it 80 beats per minute. Okay, so let's talk about, there's two key concepts here I want to talk about beat matching now. Let me show you a way now to bring in other sample material. Maybe it's a 4-bar loop, a 2-bar loop. You have to be able to count that, and then we can conform it to this time here. So there's a simple way to conform these samples in the workspace. So we go to Window, New Workspace, Default. This is Option I believe. And we bring up the workspace here. Okay, so I'm going to browse for this now. I put some things on the desktop here. So I go to my home folder, which is going to be the Macintosh HD users. That's me. Desktop, and I made an audio. Got to remember the path here, and magics. And I'm going to find something. These are just totally different files here, and they are at different tempos, and it sounds a little grainy. So you got to be careful for some of this stuff. So I'm going to go right here. Let's just try and find a classic. So I can hit spacebar to play these files here. So a simple way to get files in there is to, these are at different tempos. These are at 100 beats per minute, and my session is 80 beats per minute right here. So if I click on this little metronome object right here, just notice the difference here. I'm going to play it without that on, right? And it's playing back at 100 beats per minute, just a little bit faster. If I click on this metronome, got a little grainy, but it matches my session tempo. Let's find a better sample here. That's a good one. So let's notice this one more time. So without the green metronome on, it's going to be at 100 beats per minute, which is what it was recorded at right here. A little faster, and I'm going to slow down to 80 with that on. Right? So what that enables me to do then is just to drag this file right here into my session, and look how it matches perfectly. It will transform the file and conform to the tempo here. Right? Does that make sense? Let's do it again. So now once we do this, the workspace is actually behind here, so you can see it. It's behind the windows, but that window is back there. It's right here. Let's do that again. So let's find another file here. Slow down. Faster. It's at 100 beats per minute with the green on. When it brings it in, it'll slow it down to match my tempo. So we're going to bring this in again. And look how it matches perfectly. So now I have a nice hi-hat. So this is a great way, importing through the workspace, to conform that sample. Most samples are going to be in stereo, by the way. Just keep that in mind. Let's go back to that window one more time. Here's the workspace. Let's turn this off now. Let me show you an alternative way. Let's bring in another... there we go. It's faster. Green on. Slower, right? So I'm going to bring this in, and look at how it doesn't line up. It's not quite matching the measure here. So the second way to time conform is with the TCE trimmer. The regular trimmer here is standard trimmer. We know that we just kind of use it to make the beginning or the end of an audio clip shorter. The TCE trimmer, though, stands for time compression expansion. And what I can do right here is I can just trim this out so that now this is going to line up with the tempo. So you want to use this sparingly. It can make the audio sound a little bit funny. But let's just play that back now. Maybe just the drum beat and the hi-hat here. In tempo. Before I did that, though, listen to this. Let me make this selection here. See, they're out of sync. So that's two ways to get to tempo match your files in Pro Tools. The workspace, which was Option I or Alt I, and then you turn on this little green metronome, which will tempo match the session tempo. So it'll match the loop created, whatever tempo it is, with the tempo of the session. If you don't do that, then you can also use the TCE trimmer, just to review here, and stretch that out to match tempo. And so when you're doing time-based stuff, you kind of want to be in grid mode, bars and beats for the most part. We could also take little slices of the file. If, let's say, I wanted to take one of these little slices of this hi-hat here. Remember, I can just zoom in here, hold on Shift to adjust that bounds, and oops, let's grab like that. That's good. Get a little, copy it right here. So, and then I can paste it over here. Let's go back to grid mode here. Let's paste it in there, V. And then I'm going to change my grid mode here to a different time value. It's on bars and beats. Let's go to 16th note. And now I can just take this and Option drag over like that. And now it's, it sounds a little mechanical there, but it's like a drum machine. I can make that whole one beat selection and then duplicate that. So point being is, like, when you're on grid mode, you can take these little slices of audio and align them. So that's a few ways to kind of deal with time conforming in Pro Tools.